If you are absent or you're VIP today, which is Wednesday, February 17th, here's what we did in class. First thing that we did was WordWork slide 2, and I posted in here in a comment a Nearpod for you to check your answers. So you can figure out the endings and then use this Nearpod link to make sure that you are right. After that, we started our main project today, which is researching the KKK. So I have here, we're going to start a new novel this week, maybe next week, depending on kind of the way everything shapes up. And it opens with the main character across the pond from her house witnessing a Ku Klux Klan rally. So they are like lighting a cross and doing a cross burning. Throughout the story, the Klan is like the primary antagonist, and they continue to like threaten her family and her community. So before we start the novel, I wanted you to have like some background knowledge about the Klan. So you're going to research who they are, what their goals are, and then the steps that they take to accomplish those goals. So the first thing that you'll need to do is copy paste the slides here in format and source into your glossary. So you'll, copy the slide and then delete the format slide in your glossary and replace it with this one. The 6 formats that you're going to be working with in your sources are, there's an interview, there's a newspaper article, there's a photograph, a pamphlet, there's 2 transcripts, and an informational article. So those are like different ways that a text may be arranged. Like when we read the Diary of Anne Frank, it was set up as a play. The original was set up as a diary. We listened to a podcast. That's a format. So it's different ways that texts are arranged to kind of give a message. The other one that you'll do is source. So you have 6 sources to work with, 7 including the example. And of those, 2 are secondary sources and the rest are primary sources. So a primary source is like a person who was there when it happened, whatever is being written about. So like if somebody's house burns, like a witness who was standing there watching the house, or the person who's actually in the house, or the firefighter, those would be people who are primary sources. But if there was a newspaper article written where the author interviewed, 6 or 7 different people and looked at the evidence at the house, and they put all of that together, that's a secondary source. So primary sources are things like letters, diaries, government records, artifacts. That would be like maybe there was like a burned piece of a toaster or something. That would be an artifact. In a museum, there might be scraps of clothing from like World War II or campaign buttons. Secondary sources are things like newspaper articles, textbooks, like your history book, things that pull together a whole bunch of different sources into one. This is probably what you're more familiar with finding information about, like Wikipedia is a secondary source. You're probably most familiar with researching from these, but primary sources can be a really cool way to like get to the heart of an issue, and then you have to do kind of the interpretation on what it means, because it's just a report of what somebody experienced. So you're going to copy those in. And then these are the 2 files that you're going to be working with. So the first one has all of your sources in it. They're numbered up here at the top. The only one that's just an image is the one that I did as an example. And then the rest of them are all texts for you to read. So there's the Ku Klux Klan, and do note that it's not the Klu Klux Klan. So this one doesn't have an L. This is an introduction. This one is a manual. So if you were joining the KKK, you would get this manual of what to do. This one's a newspaper report from 1868. This is an excerpt of a congressional testimony. So this teacher testified in front of Congress and explained how the Klan threatened her. This was a letter from KKK members to a Black man who was elected sheriff in Georgia. So this is like the ransom note that he received. And then this one's a transcript of another congressional testimony. This man was a former slave and he had been threatened. So you're going to like read each of those and then use them here. So our scenario is, congratulations, you were just hired to work for the Department of Homeland Security and you're researching terrorist organizations. So apparently they need a bunch of 14-year-olds help. So you're going to be investigating the KKK, which is kind of like the original American Terrorist Association. You're going to be answering these questions. So as you read, you're going to be determining how each source answers at least one, but maybe multiple of these questions. So who are the Klan? What are their goals? And how do they accomplish their goals? So each source, you have a little card like this. First, you'll figure out what number it is. So that's up in the top left-hand corner. There's like source number, and they don't go in order because we like selected ones that we wanted you to work with. What format is this source? You're going to pull that information from here. So choose one of these, treat this like your word bank, and figure out which one is which. For summarize and describe the source, here you're going to tell me a little bit about what the source is about, and then figure out which question or questions it answers. So like this badge helps me answer question number 3, how do they accomplish their goals? So just as an example, if I look at this badge, it is a photograph. It's a badge identifying a KKK member, and it says Invisible Empire, Ku Klux Klan. There's a horse and a rider, and they're both wearing robes. The rider has a lit torch, and the horse is rearing up. So this helps me answer question number 3, how did they accomplish their goals? So they accomplished their goals by being anonymous, so in anonymity. They wore white sheets over their faces and their bodies, and they even covered their horses. You can think of that as like I have friends and family who I know their car and I can like spot specific things. Like my brother's car has like a handicap decal of like Batman on the back because his son is in a wheelchair, and also loves Batman. So it's like easy for me to spot him. What they're doing is covering their horses, which is their identifiable mode of transportation, so that if they're committing a crime, then they couldn't be prosecuted for it because there would be no proof that it was them. So it would be like, using a different vehicle to commit a crime, so nobody would know that it was your vehicle. They also use threats. So I'm pulling this evidence of the fiery torch, and the positioning of the horse looks aggressive, like it looks like it's going to charge. So you're pulling information from here to help you answer one of the questions. For the text-based ones, you can actually use direct quotes. So you can pull direct quotes from the sources if you'd like to, and just paste them into this box. So each source, you tell me what format the source is, describe, summarize the source, and then figure out which questions it answers. Some of them may answer all 3, some of them may only answer 1. For today, I'd like you to have 4 of these done, and then we can continue that into tomorrow, but I'd like you to have the majority of them done for today. I think that's it. If you get stuck on anything, reach out, give me heads up on email. I can Google Meet with you if you need to. The weather looks a little bit weird for tomorrow, so we might all be on Google Meet tomorrow. It's hard to say. Stay warm and have a good day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow in some form.